in the next minute or two. But
hey guys,
welcome,
how are you doing?
Hey Romy, how's it going?
All good, all good. How about you?
Doing well. Glad to have you up here.
Thank you for the invite. Super happy to be here.
Of course, we're getting Chris up here, and then we will start the space. We'll get rolling.
Yep. I was checking on Twitter
Apologies.
that apparently USD is launching, so everybody's excited.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Gotcha. Okay, now I can hear you guys.
Awesome. Sorry,
Romy,
I was running a couple minutes late from a call, so but I got here. I got here within a couple minutes. Great to be on here, guys. Really excited to have this chat. Got a great group up here.
Sweet. I think we are just waiting on one more group, but I think we should get started. Let's get into some intros. We'd love to hear more about the businesses you guys are from and just give a little quick rundown of what you guys do and the businesses you guys are representing.
Also, just who you are. You want to start M-Top, David? I think it's you on the account.
Yeah, sure. What's up, guys? Nice to see you guys again. My name's David. I got into cryptocurrency about 3 years ago now, and started MTop Swap about 14 months ago. We, in a nutshell, we're building the ability to trade on an unlimited number of dexes and eventually aggregators on a single screen. So you can have 10 Uniswaps, 15 Sushi Swaps, whatever you want, with price charts, all of them. All on one screen. So that's pretty much what we're building. No NFT, no token. Pretty simple.
Awesome. MC, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So I'm Regweed Rasta, or Josh if you want, whatever's easiest for you. I'm part of the MC verse, which is a multi-chain verse. We're a Web3 gaming experience, and I joined the team not too long ago. I was originally an investor and then kind of got brought on to help with marketing and community outreach. But our main thing is cars and racing them. And we actually have a functioning Unity 3D built racing game that you can use your NFTs in. So that's our jam mostly. And yeah, great to be here.
Awesome. Love to have it, man. Love to have it. And I'm excited. I looked into you guys a little bit more after our last chat, and some really, really cool stuff. How about you, Comb?
Yeah. Hi guys. My name is Philip, or Moon, and what we do is primarily DeFi. And for one side of everything, there's the economics, which is we have our own token, we have NFTs, and we kind of aggregate yield across multiple platforms onto the Phantom network. And
can anybody hear me?
Oh, are you guys able to hear me?
I can hear you, Philip.
Hey.
We can hear both of you guys.
Yeah, and for the other side, we also have yield optimization, and so one thing we try to focus on is working on the user experience, especially with Web3 and DeFi. There's a lot of apps that don't really tailor towards that, and it makes it really difficult for new investors, and so we try to focus on simplifying the process and making DeFi as easy as possible for any investor, no matter where they are in their journey.
Awesome. Love it. How about for you, Mad Hatter? We'll let you go first. I know Romy just hopped back up here.
Yeah, hi guys. Nice to meet you all, and apologies in advance if you hear a squeaky little voice in the background. That's my daughter, who seems to be refusing to sleep. Yeah, I'm the Mad Hatter. I'm coming from the Pillars. I happen to be the AMA host there as well. We are effectively a hub in which we aggregate protocols. We put them through a hot seat through our AMAs, and really just try and ask as many tough questions as we can to help educate investors, and also provide value to those protocols by asking questions that might kind of set off a few light bulbs every now and again and help them really develop out what they're building.
Awesome. Love it. How about for you, Romy?
Hey guys, apologies for before. Of course, every time I have a Twitter space, my damn Wi-Fi crashes on me every single time. It's like a curse or something like that. Can you guys hear me properly now?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, super nice to meet you. So my name is Romy. I'm from Abracadabra Money. We are a decentralized stablecoin platform where users can come in, bring collateral, and borrow our stablecoin MIM, Magic Internet Money. I'm with the team since the early beginning of Abra. I started as a community manager, and I'm now focusing more on BD and growth. And yeah, super excited to be here.
Awesome. Love the intros from everybody. Romy, I have to say, I think your partner here with Frog Economics got you on the profile picture though. That was like the coolest thing. It just popped like as soon as I was looking at the space, I saw that and I was like, that looks actually very, very cool. Very random thought, but I just thought I'd share it.
Appreciate it. It's an NFT called Blob Mob. It's pretty funny because I'm probably the last one holding this. So be advised, everyone. If you buy this, you're basically buying my bags. So just to let you know. But they're cool, yeah.
Awesome. All right, Judge, do you want to get into that first question that we have for today?
Yeah, I would love to. I think the goal of this chat is to kind of give people direction, people who are looking to start a business in Web3 who might need a little bit of direction from people who have done it successfully. So that's the whole goal of this chat. I wanted to start with marketing, right? I know the markets are down, marketing methods are kind of thrown out the window during these times, but I'd love to hear what have you guys found successful as far as routes to market your guys' businesses, even in the down market.
And by the way, I'll open it up real quick. The way we like to hold our space is please feel free to just go ahead and just throw yourself into the conversation. But if we have a lot of people speaking, just throw up your hand and we'll just go in order with that. Otherwise, feel free to just, take it away.
So
if we got anyone.
Shall I start?
If nobody else is going to go, I'll step up. I guess right now in this type of market, where it's been going on for a while, you're kind of just you just do what you always do. I find, just keep building. Marketing wise, it's a little harder because most of the communities are very tight knit in times like these. But you just go to different communities, form relationships, and build the trust. I find that's the easiest way to get your product out in a bear market time. It's not quite as easy as bull when you can kind of just get money thrown at you by investors. You have to have a bit more trust in the bear, I find. So personally, that's what I found has worked for us, is going into spaces, networking, really working with the people that we have networked with and expanding that way.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
I would also agree on that standpoint. In terms of marketing, it's pretty difficult during the bear market, and I'd say rather than pursuing marketing fully, right, you'd have to kind of change up your priorities so that one, you can focus more on your product, because at the end of the day, if it's a good product, bear or not, you'll be able to push out something that investors will enjoy. And so, yeah, I also agree in the fact that establishing connections and network is probably the best way to kind of survive the bear market. It's because the existing communities out there are really the only ones you can tap into. Trying to tap into like new investors and trying to tap into acquiring kind of like trust in a bear market is almost like impossible. So unless you have an amazing product, which you guys should be or you should like technically be building, and marketing isn't going to be as effective. So yeah, I also agree in that standpoint. It's just building that network and establishing trust with other communities out there.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for Abra, we never spent a single dollar in marketing, never, not even during the bull market. And I kind of follow everyone saying that your best marketing tool is probably your product. The better your product, the less you need marketing. And apart from some exceptions, for example, Yearn, I think Yearn Finance is having one of the best marketing team ever. I love every single thing they do. All the other big DeFi protocols don't really need marketing the moment their product is successful. So I would recommend everyone to focus firstly on the product and put all your energies in making sure that what you're building works and that there are people using what you're building, rather than looking for marketing agencies or tools, at least not right away.
Yeah, I definitely echo those sentiments. I think creating good partnerships and not being afraid to expose yourself in other communities is key, but also the consistency of your message delivery and how often you do it. At times, it can feel perhaps like you're not getting anywhere, even though you might be posting something twice a day. You go for a few weeks or a couple of months and nothing seems to be happening. That consistency of continuing to stick by how it is that you want to guide your marketing and the vision that you have eventually is going to pay off, because someone will notice. You'll find that people start to recognize your name as you go into other spaces, and then it becomes a bit of a snowball effect whereby things will start to escalate a bit quicker for you.
100%. And I think the piece that everyone's chatting about as far as developing relationships, or specifically Philip, you kind of touched on a lot of this, MC Verse you did as well. With all this relationship building that you're talking about, how does the access to certain groups or individuals change from a bear to a bull run? Like what are the, obviously you're not able to interact with the same people in a bull run as you are in a bear market. So how are you guys, or everyone, really to open to everyone, how are you taking advantage of the fact that there are less requests being, flooding inboxes of these larger protocols, larger businesses in the space?
I actually would somewhat disagree with the fact that it's a little bit harder. I would actually say it's pretty. It gets easier in the fact that the current companies that are being built, or businesses, operations, protocols, those that are being built in the bear market are more established and trustworthy than those in the bull market. In the bull market, there can be any sorts of malicious activities, different types of protocols that can appear, and you really have to choose what you want to trust and establish a relationship with. At least during the bear market, we found some really amazing individuals and communities that we loved to establish a connection with, and that's just because they're out here, they're still building, and we're all here for one kind of reason, and that's with Web3, DeFi, and being in a community, being with communities that also agree in that sentiment, makes it a lot easier to kind of enjoy actually establishing those relationships.
Yeah, maybe I can clarify. Yeah, it is easier in a bear market to build these relationships, is what I was getting at. But how are you guys utilizing the fact that some of these larger businesses and protocols that, like you say, are more well established, that are legitimate businesses? How are you guys leveraging the fact that their inboxes are not as full at these times versus in a bull market when, obviously it'd be much harder to connect with someone like, Avalanche during a bull run, because the number of groups reaching out to them daily are just obscene. So what are you guys currently doing to build relationships with some of these larger groups that ordinarily you might not have access to?
So we are, Robert, pretty lucky. We already have all the relationship established with major blockchains, other DeFi protocols and stuff like that. But I guess that it's kind of true, right? Like the less people, it's sad to say, but bear market bring people to leave the industry and only the good ones remain. And there's very few of the good ones. So it's for sure easier to reach out to BD departments during a bear market. But at the same time, it doesn't really matter, right? Like if you do something that is cool, and sooner or later, people will notice you even during a bull market. I remember the first time we spoke with most of the teams was right in the middle of 2021. So full bull market. And yeah, it just came natural to be put in contact.
Yeah, and I would say there is a slight competitive advantage in the bear market, and I agree. During the bear market, you're able to actually reach out to these big tech companies and blockchains and be able to establish that relationship. And what we do personally at Comb is the fact that if we do establish a relationship early on, or want to establish a relationship early on, we actually shift a bunch of priorities, and so that we can actually establish that relationship with a bunch of things with our products kind of tailored toward that audience and company. and just so that we're more attractive in the fact that if we do reach out, they actually like respond to us because we look like we're primarily on Phantom, primarily on Avalanche, primarily on like Binance, and so being able to shift our priorities, moving fast in that sense, actually keeps us up to date and actually something different than the bull market. In the bull market, you have to kind of tailor yourself to your audiences, and yes, that is for like a majority of the time, but also during the bear market when you have to establish yourself with these big tech companies, kind of making yourself look good is a good way to kind of establish these relationships as well.
I would actually, I agree with all this. Doing spaces like this is a great way, keeping in touch with people, not just talking with them once and stopping after that. But you know, obviously building an irresistible product first is key, and right now is the best time to do it. I would actually even argue against the fact that we're even in a bear market right now. I mean, macro is bad, yeah, for sure, but you know, we've had a few months of a bit of a run up, especially in DeFi too lately with all the meme coins and such. Not saying it's going to be a bull market here, but it's definitely not as bearish as it was a year ago, and already you see much more people in the space. So it kind of goes to show that things change super quickly in this space. And what I'm most appreciative of in this time is the ability to focus and really listen to your community and the feedback they have on your product, and feedback of people who are saying, you know, it could be better in this way or that way, and then be humble and realize that, you know, maybe there are improvements to make, and make them now. While everyone isn't saying, you know, bull market times are very stressful. They can be very stressful. There's a lot of FOMO, there's a lot of people rushing and hurrying. But this time that we're in now, whatever it is a time to kind of just sit back and you know, network with as many people as you can and build a really irresistible product that caters to your target market and your community.
I mean, considering that Pepe is at like what, 400 million market cap, I don't think we can consider this a bear market, right?
Yeah,
Not
I
until
really don't anymore. Yeah, and
yeah,
NFTs
not
are
until it goes to zero at least.
I think from our perspective, with a less diluted space, the leverage really comes in from the secondary contact that you might have with a protocol or a space that does AMAs or whoever it is that you're trying to network with. I think still there are protocols and there are team leads that are going to shy away from having that initial contact. But the secondary contact that you might be able to have because they've seen your name, therein lies your leverage, because you're probably going to get your foot in the door a little bit easier now because the space is so small, it's less diluted. So again, it comes back to what I said earlier about that consistency. If you're consistently trying to get in touch with these people, eventually you're going to get noticed.
It's consistency, yeah, I agree, and it's persistence too. And also, when you get those secondhand connections, it's important that you communicate quickly with them. You know, respond to comments, talk to them, reach out to them. If you get any, you know, attention from a friend of a friend whatsoever, don't just let it sit. Like, you know, communicate with them as soon as you can.
Yeah, and I think from our side, one thing that's been really successful is instead of just saying, you know, networking is important, because I feel like everyone says that. It's like, okay, how do your actions represent that? Are you reaching out to 10 people every week or 50 people every week, right? Somehow putting it into your business to make networking a legitimate action step into what you guys do. I think that's been really successful for us. But I don't know if you guys have specific routes that you guys do networking, or specific amounts of people you want to connect with each week, or how you guys do that, but I'd love to hear specific examples. What's up, McVerse?
Yeah, so for the first question about like getting connections in the bear market, I find like with a lot of tech companies in the space and projects in general, they mostly have discords, and being able to hop in there in a bear market when there isn't, or even whatever market this is, when there isn't 1,000 messages being sent a minute, it's a lot easier to build a relationship and get in there. So that's my suggestion, is get in there, just join a Discord, talk, say good morning, be a normal human being that is having a conversation. And these networking connections will just come. You know, you do have to reach out. And to answer, I think it was Cardinal asking about like how do we do marketing and networking. Like we have a couple guys that are literally, that's all they do. They just go on Twitter, look for people, try to make connections, and respond to tweets. You know, that we have basically our own department that is doing that. So it's like, that's a really important thing, I think, is having a dedicated section, because then, you know, you can develop those relationships. You're not just sending a message and then never responding. Like Dave said, you can respond to the comments right away. I think it's really key to have a networking department within your marketing department.
I just want to tack onto that. It's also important to leverage the connections of your community too. So yeah, like you said, Ragweed, like you can make really personal connections with people in these times when the chats aren't running as fast. So I spend at least an hour a day just shooting the shit with people, talking about tokens and NFTs and whatever the hell else they're talking about. But also leveraging the connections our community has, and part of that is promoting from within. That's one thing we've done, is that, you know, we started out on Harmony, and since then, for the last 14 months, all the people on all our community managers, moderators, and people on our team came from our community. So, like, you know, not just outside people. So, you know, I made sure to reward people who seemed very interested and active and engaged, and that really pays off in the end, because yeah, just one person can change the whole course of your project, right, with a certain connection.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's like part of the key of everything, right? Is developing those business development partnerships during times when, like, everyone's kind of on the same page here, is like during times when inboxes aren't full, during times when the Discords don't have, like you said, MC, is they don't have 1,000 messages flying by every minute. And that's just something that I think it adds a lot of complexity when you're trying to build a relationship and you're a legitimate protocol, but there are just too many, inboxes are just too full. And which is why I think this space is phenomenal. And I think Mad Hatter, you touched on it as well. Building connections that leverage and being able to leverage some of the connections you have for credibility for future partnerships is a huge piece. Like them seeing your name attached to any company's name is very large as far as the future potential relationships. The space right now is so built on partnerships now, but also connections being given by partners, so just referral partnerships and that kind of thing. And I think that just it gives a huge run up when you have a group that you built a really phenomenal relationship with, and now they are willing to put their name behind what you do. Jojo, I think you were up next.
Yeah, I love that. And I wanted to kind of give everyone in the audience kind of an action step. If you have a product you're developing, if you're building a business in Web3 and you want to connect with people, what we found to work is, going into Discords and just trying to get the opportunity to get in a call with them. And then when you show up to that call, make sure you're there to provide them value in some way. You have something that they're going to find valuable and you're ready to pitch it, and you're prepared to actually give them something that they find valuable. That is the easiest way to build a relationship. So if anyone is trying to build a relationship with any business, just provide them value and make sure that what you have is something that they need. And when you come into that call, you nail it because you were preparing for that. But I think Comb was next. So Comb, the stage is yours.
Yeah, I was also gonna speak on the creating value part. It's especially easier to catch the attention of like who you're networking with when you have like actual intent and kind of creating value. Being able to have like a value proposition, actually be able to provide something to both of the companies like mutually, makes it a lot easier to actually get a like demo, get a discussion, get a call on with the individual, and actually establishing a relationship through like even like voice chat or even a call is also extremely important when establishing that connection. We found that like super helpful when trying to establish our own as well. So yeah, always like try to go in with an intent to get somewhere with both companies as well.
I think from our perspective, what we found very important is not just to focus on being the networker, but also understanding that you perhaps are someone who's being networked, and therefore it allows you to be totally open to conversation. As somebody's already touched on, you could be having a conversation that could turn the entire route of your protocol, and you may not even necessarily know that you're speaking to someone who has the ability to change things for you. So just understanding that a general conversation is all part of the process of networking is also very, very important. It's an important tool to utilize when you want to make relevant connections.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of touching on a root of an issue on making these connections. So I kind of want to change the frame a little bit. What content sources? So still relating to marketing, but what content avenues are you all pursuing, and how are you utilizing those to? I mean, it could be to further your network, or it could be something else entirely. But how are you utilizing those to push different avenues of your growth?
One front Com is doing personally is through education. And so, yeah, our whole concept for like our protocol is trying to make things easier and try to educate individuals. And so, for us, when we do also like establish like relationships, we try to find ways to kind of also like find new ways to make content, try to push like our education front as far as possible. And so, yeah, being able to kind of tailor your conversation so that it actually benefits your objectives as a protocol is also a really good way to kind of use your relationships as well.
So for us, we're a little different because we're a game project, and a lot of these other projects are more like DeFi and like swap related. So with us right now, we have like the playable game, so we're really pushing gameplay footage and getting that out there and trying to get the gamers of Web3 on board, because we actually have like a really nice looking game. So it's like in the background, we're like, what are we trying to, like, what is our product? Our product is this game. We might as well use the game to sell it. And it's been working great. We started, doing really good with marketing once we started using videos and more like live content as a game. So I can't speak to the DeFi side so much, but as a game product, I find if that's what you're doing and that's what you're trying to get out, you really need to have your game playable and ready for people to see and play, because if they don't see a product and the only product that you are offering is a game, they're not going to want it. So you really got to make sure your product is good to go. And I guess that really applies to anything, is show off your product. If it is good and you love it, show it off. Screenshots, videos of how it works, just share it.
I mean, the videos work fine with everyone, to be honest. The easiest way to teach people how to use a platform is probably through videos and tutorials and anything that is like visually easy to understand. With Abra, we saw it quite a lot. We managed to get the biggest growth focusing on, as you guys said, on teaching people how to use the platform, but also showing them, like kind of babysitting them through the platform to make sure they understand all the functions of it. So yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to what you said, McVerse or MC Verse. You had mentioned that, the product matters, right? And I think the biggest misconception with marketing is that somehow you can make a really bad product sell really well by just paying for someone to market it, right? And I think when I think of marketing, I think of getting more eyes, the distribution, getting it out to people. But if the product isn't good, getting it to more people might not do anything, right? So I think it really does stem from creating a product that's worth getting out to more eyes, and then using content or other methods to get it out organically or through paid traffic to more eyes, which will then actually buy because it's a good product. And then just really trying to highlight the value through the messaging that you put out on content or through advertisements is crucial. Chris, what's up?
Yeah, I'd love to take this time to kind of branch into that section of things. Like when developing your product or service, what are some of the key ways that you look at improving upon it? Like what are some of the tricks that you guys have all learned or all brought to the table when looking at your own products and services, and how to evaluate how to improve it, what to take out, what to keep in? I'd love to kind of hear a little bit about that.
For us, we say there's a few ways that we kind of take in consideration for iterating on our products, but there are two things that we think are probably most useful, and one is customer feedback. And so whenever like somebody uses the platform, being able to consume that feedback and kind of iterate on the process, especially like MTOPS mentioned it before, being able to kind of discuss with the community about how to improve and how to make it better is probably the number one way. And I think this is pretty universal among like lots of startup talks, being able to just go to feedback, because that is really the number one way to kind of iterate on your product. The second thing for us actually would be doing product demos in front of like other businesses. And so part of our business strategy is actually establishing relationships with other protocols and being able to have their tokens deployed on ours. And doing that, we're able to kind of have a product demo and kind of use their feedback, because being able to reach to other communities is a lot better than reaching to the individual. And so doing those product demos and getting feedback and actually hearing what a person feels like in person when reacting to the product is probably a great feeling when it's positive. Not so great when it's negative and like request for dark mode or whatever, right? But obviously being able to kind of iterate with somebody in person on the products, better if it's a business that you might work with. And then there's also the customer, probably the number one way to find that product market fit.
Yeah, so for like changing and adapting the product, we do a lot of like community listening. You know, it's a game, and our users are who are playing the game. So we usually listen to them if they have a suggestion and we think it will fit or will work. We try to find a way to throw it in there, right? Like this is, you know, like it's Web3, and we're big on keeping that kind of mentality about the community having a say. So like we're really big on community votes about things. We've had a few of those for like big major issues. So that's the way we kind of look at it. Is we have a user base that has been with us for a long time, and kind of, you know, we've developed a trust with them. They've developed a trust with us, and we use that to our advantage when developing our product and adding to it.
Awesome. I love the focus that Web3 has on the act taking inputs into account from the community, because ultimately there is an element to trying to figure out product development that really comes down to what the consumer actually wants, and Web3 just places a bigger emphasis on that. Previously, people are, at least modern Web3, I'll say that a lot of earlier developments were more focused on, you know, solving problems that developers had, but with where we are now, it gives a lot of room for community to actually give inputs and contribute to the development of whatever product or service that they're looking for. And ultimately, that's who you're selling to. So that's what you got to do. If I could ask, how large, just going down the line, how large are each of the teams that are here chatting? I'd love to just get a feel for the size that everyone is at, as far as just the number of team members you have.
Abra has, you want to go ahead? No worries.
Oh, sorry. We have 5 total.
Abra has 14 people. including designers, engineers, BD, and 14 people.
I think at Comb, I'm pretty sure it's 7 at the moment. One thing that we also went through is like being able to restructure over the time. I know like during the bull market, if anybody's like building businesses, making sure to scale properly. That's something we didn't really do, and we scaled a little bit too fast and had to pay the consequences for that. But being able to scale and making sure that all your people you're working with are actually like passionate in the same objectives as the protocol as well.
So we have about like 12 to 14 with the addition of some contract work here and there for some like 3D assets every now and again. So a fair size.
At the Pillars, we are a mighty 3-person team.
The mighty 3.
I love it. I love it. I think that no matter what industry you're in, any group, any size can work. It just really depends on the specifics of what what the overall goal is trying to be. Everyone needs to have their own specific skill set and role. So I think size is a little bit. It's not extremely like indicative of anything, but I'm just curious to see kind of what each of your experiences and what it's like, because obviously working with a large team, communication is much harder when you're a part of a larger team. And so I'd love to get everyone's input on how you guys manage the communication with your team, because as you start to get larger, obviously things get lost, things might get a little bit more confusing. Go ahead, Romy.
Yeah, I mean, with Opera, we could manage everything through Telegram, but we realized that it's more efficient to have also something like ClickUp. I don't know if you guys have ever used it. It's a pretty good app to organize companies. And I mean, we do most of the BD and growth part directly on Telegram with other platforms, and then internally we have this ClickUp in which we divide our tasks for the different departments, and it's been working pretty well. And I think it's also easily scalable, even though as a business, Abracadabra doesn't really need to scale in terms of teams. Even when we had more than 6 billion in TVL, we still were around 15, 16 people, if I remember correctly.
Very cool. Very cool. How about for the rest of y'all?
So in the real world, I've had a team of 100+ people, and in this space, it's just the 3. And I'm sure everybody has heard, big companies and CEOs of big companies say it's far easier to be in a small group than it is in a bigger team. The minute you start bringing more and more people in, things become a lot more complex, because you're not just having to delegate work to a lot more people, but at the same time, you're also dealing with different personality types. I think one thing people should always be aware of when they are creating or setting out a team is to never build your team too quickly. Just when you think you might need somebody extra, you probably don't. And it will just take a conversation between the people that you are working with to find out what little bit extra everybody can do to distribute that workload evenly amongst everyone. And it just allows you to stay small for as long as possible. And really only expand and bring people in when it is getting to a point where you're working 27 hours a day.
So a lot of our communication is divided up, like it's like a hand almost, it's the hand approach. So you have the 3 dudes who are basically running the project, and they're the creators. It's their baby, and then each of them kind of has their own section that they give ideas to complete and give tasks to. So it's pretty organized. And even though it's a larger group, everybody's kind of divided into their own sections. So it's like the marketing material, devs don't really need that. So they don't see that. That just goes to marketing. So there's I find getting documents and information to the right people and only the people that need them is very key for communication. So yeah, that's our approach, is basically just keeping those divisions of work really separate and having one person communicating to the group what's going on. Because like you said, as soon as you get more heads, there's more ideas, telephone game starts being played, and things get lost in translation. So keep it simple, have one person reporting down, giving everybody the same information, and it's a bit easier. That's our approach.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. Go ahead, Come.
Yeah, for us, we're a little bit more unstructured in the fact that everybody takes ownership of what domain they're kind of working in. And so, yeah, we have a bunch of domains. We have like the development, the marketing, and then like community management and engagement. And so really we have like our own like separate teams. But at the end of the day, everybody can own like a little part of what they do. And they're able to push out to one person, which is me, who kind of says like yes or no to certain things as well. So like kind of like the CEO like position, and then being able to kind of work with that lets us be a lot more agile and be able to have more impact in the project rather than being able to just respond to one person. We always communicate ideas across everybody and try to take in like different suggestions and kind of be as flexible as possible just so that we can move fast during this market.
Yeah, I think it's important also to not have any unilateral decisions for a number of reasons. That's kind of obvious, but it's just the more brains, the better in general.
I think an organic sharing of ideas is always important, but what Combe hit on and was perfect is that there should be one person that sits at the top that eventually steps forward to say, right, I'm going to make the ultimate decision. We may all have our ideas. I'm going to take that ultimate step to say yes or no. We're going to go in this direction or that direction. But at the same time, they also have to be the person that's going to shoulder the responsibility if it goes wrong. So, whoever is making that decision should always be that person that people look at times of crisis when things are happening that perhaps shouldn't be, because ultimately in any business structure, regardless of how it is set up, you can only ever send the blame up. You can never send it down. So you do need someone that is going to sit at the helm that can take on that responsibility.
I think you're touching on a really key piece here as well. Speed is everything, and I don't mean like, I mean always. You don't want to always grow the fact. Like there are times when you should slow down, but so don't take it out of context. But what I'm getting at is speed with decision making is an extremely key piece of what what building a good product or a successful business entirely is. And there's going to be wrong decisions made, so you need somebody that in times when there isn't an agreement that can take that ahead and at least kind of take that initiative and move forward. At least in the business sense, I think that is important. There are certain times that are pivotal in a business. If there's a huge change that's coming that might require a little bit more input from others, but at that point, whoever's in charge should have that discretion to put brakes on the decision and slow things down. But in general, if the decision is not going to tear apart a business, if it's not going to have an extremely large negative impact, most decisions I think are overthought a lot, and I think the speed is extremely important, and just making some progress and understanding. I think Gary Vee has stated it extremely well. He goes into every decision thinking that it's the wrong one, and ultimately the speed is going to be more valuable long term. Getting through 10 decisions is a lot more valuable than only trying one because you've thought about it in that entire time. But anyways, that's my 2 cents on that piece.
I think you raise a really valid point. Speed is key, but you also said throughout all of that pumping the brakes is also important. I think it's really important that also someone isn't afraid to say, you know what, let's sit on this decision for a bit. We don't have to make a decision right this second. We can come back to this in a day, in a week, in a month, if it isn't critical to what's happening at that precise moment in time. Because, especially within the DeFi space, everything moves so quick that the optics might shift tomorrow. And therefore, what you make as a decision today is totally irrelevant tomorrow or in a week's time. So I just think it's having that knowledge that, right, am I managing the personalities that I'm working with well enough to know I can tell them to sit on this idea for a bit and come back in a month? Or do I need to push them hard and make sure that we make a decision today so we can get over the hump of whatever, discussion or argument might be happening and move on to the next thing that's key?
100%, 100%. Really well stated there. And yeah, just like anything, we could probably go on this for a long time, but I'd like to open it up for everyone to kind of give any kind of, because we got about a little over 10 minutes here, but I want to give everyone a chance to kind of share any thoughts that they have, any advice that they would give just based on the knowledge learned in the specific business you're in now, for somebody starting up their own, whether it's in Web3 or not. Like, what would be some of the key points that you would want, that you wish you were told when you were starting, that you could have taken from and learned before you maybe made a mistake or did something a little bit suboptimal?
I think the main thing is what Mad Hatter said. You and yourself, Chris. You have to be willing to slow down sometimes. I know it's your product. You want to get it out. You have rose-colored glasses on sometimes, and you don't see what's wrong. My number one thing is just slow down sometimes. Don't rush it. Make sure it's good. Because, if you put something out and it's bad, that comes back on you. And that could be very detrimental to your business. So, just always take a step back and take a second look is my advice to younger me.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. My thought on this is I wish when I started a business that I understood opportunities and how to pick a good opportunity to pursue as especially as a first business. I think what is lacking often is understanding of what makes something a good opportunity and then knowing how to even get started. So to me, I think it's like, okay, what is understand the size of an opportunity and then understand the skill sets required to actually make that opportunity get to whatever that max size of revenue is, right? Are you even able to do that right now? Do you have any skills? And I think understanding that business and being an entrepreneur is a marathon, right? If you want to get to making however whatever number you set is like I want to make this much, it might not happen in 5 years, but the first business you start doesn't have to be the business that gets you there. So I think just understanding that you need to have seasons of earning before or seasons of learning before you can have a season of earning, and really, really stressing that. I think that's super, super valuable. But I know, I don't know who raised their hand first. I wasn't really looking down. Go ahead, Come.
I think actually Matt Hatter raised their hand first, so I'll let them go.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead.
It's interesting that in this space in particular, the word understanding comes up a lot. And I always try and say to people, and wish I'd said this to my younger self, is it's be hungry for information. The only way you're going to understand anything is if you're trying to learn about it. But also structure that learning. Don't just dive into anything and start, going down rabbit holes, especially in this space. In particular, if you're a visual learner that likes videos, you're going to go down rabbit holes that perhaps aren't going to be too useful for what you want to learn at that time. So I think making sure you're structuring the way you're learning is super important because, it allows you to take on information, absorb that information, understand what it is that you're learning, and then move on to the next step of whatever it is that you want to take a look at. And if I had taken that approach when I was younger, I would have been far more successful than I am now.
And personally, for me, I think the main experience I kind of got out is the fact that sometimes you just have to understand people. Trying to become a good leader and stuff like that. Because personally, I don't have much of a background into like business going in. I was probably the person that was just the most technical and remained the most technical for a time being. But being able to understand people and being able to lead is probably one of the most important traits to starting something up and running it. You'll be working with a lot of people. You'll be working with a lot of people even outside of your company and be able to establish relationships, as we mentioned earlier. And then with inside your company as well is super important as well. And another thing, which is like pretty like technical, is the fact that it's okay to be scrappy and move fast. Just make sure to clean it up, refactor, make sure that everything you're doing doesn't hurt you down the line. But yeah, it's okay to be scrappy as long as you could like get out an MVP, get something into customers' hands, and basically get people to try it out. Because again, at the end of the day, it's the product that matters the most. And yes, marketing is strong, but I believe that product comes first no matter what. And yeah, try to just push. You'll push yourself. You'll spend a lot of time, lots of endless nights working, but you'll have to put. You'll hopefully have a lot of faith in what you're building, and that'll take you far.
I love that, and I'll keep it really short because I'm going again. But I just wanted to respond to what you said, Matter, of like focused learning, right? And I think creating some sort of system for that. But my system has really been just learn, apply, revise, reflect, and then do it again, right? Like you have to learn, then you have to put it into action, experience, then you have to take that, probably reflect before, and then come back with revisions and grow and get better. But when you're thinking like that and you're really breaking it down, like it's hard not to succeed. Yeah, it may take 10 years or 20 years, but it's hard not to succeed with whatever business you start. So I love that point of view. I'll pass it on though to people who haven't spoken yet.
I guess on my side, the main advice I would give to my younger self is be careful who you work with, and not follow blindly when somebody has ideas. Just always try to think more about it and make sure that what you're doing is the right thing, both for your protocol, your users, and everybody involved. Yeah.
Gotcha. I love that. I love that. Making decisions. Don't be afraid to question things. Right, is kind of what you're getting at, Romy.
Yeah, question things, and even if you think that something is wrong, don't follow it. Like if you think that somebody you're working with is not a good person to work with, just say it blatantly and don't keep going, uh, assuming that things will get better, because usually things don't get better. So just make sure that you always follow what you think is the right thing to do, and then you're gonna be fine, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. Your team is having a good team around you. Having a bad culture fit can destroy a team, whereas having somebody that is a good culture fit can make a team. I completely agree there. That's some really good. That's a very very good piece of advice. Um, but yeah, I really do appreciate you all for coming on, Jojo. I don't know if you had any closing thoughts, but we can start to close things off here. I appreciate the whole audience for tuning in. It's been honestly a really fun space to just listen to your experiences, how you guys have grown, and all that. And hopefully, you guys enjoyed the time up here on stage. And I'm sure we'll invite you guys again for another space in the future. Feel free to let us know if you guys ever do want to come back on. Um, but yeah, really, really do appreciate you all for coming up and speaking and having this conversation.
Thank you for having us. It was super nice.
Yeah, I wanted to give David. I know you hadn't said something for the last question, or I don't think you have.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you. Yeah, two things. One, you want people who disagree with you on your team. First of all, that's the most important thing. Second of all, don't necessarily stick to your original idea. The space moves so damn quickly, especially in the DeFi space. When we started a year ago, everyone was mostly using DEXs still, and now one year later, pretty much everybody's using aggregators, and that switch really meant we had to pivot. So be flexible. Don't have yes men on your team, and be willing to move with the super fast moving technology to remain relevant. Yeah. So yeah, be flexible, pivot.
Love that. Love that. And lastly, any last thoughts from anyone? Feel free to go ahead. But if not, I'll share one more thing before we wrap this up. Awesome. I guess I'll go ahead and close this out. But yeah, I just wanted to share one last piece of advice for everyone. And I think this is probably the best practice that we've learned over the past, 12, 13, 14 months. But the best piece of advice we've learned is to